Hi, I'm Elvi and welcome to the second video of how to solve the 3x3 Rubik's Cube using Elvi-Method. In this video I'm gonna show you step by step how to solve the cube using Elvi-Method with for look last 8 edges. Step 1 is solving the corners, just like a 2x2. I use Ortega for this step, but you can use whatever you use to solve a 2x2. I'm gonna start with white. So what I'm gonna do here is have red top, green front, do U-Perm R, and that makes the white side. And then I'm gonna do this OLL the way I know. And that's it, U-Perm. That's corners. Step 2 is to place the first 4 edges on a chosen side. I'm gonna choose white here. Each edge should not require more than 1 slice layer and 1 top layer. Outer layer, I should say. So for example, M and U or S and R. And don't worry about centers, because they don't matter yet. Just don't mess up corners, which should be easy enough. So the first thing I do here is to place red. Easy way to do that is do U-Perm, M-Perm, and then fix corners again, just with a U. The next thing I would do is place this green, just rotate, and M-Perm, U2, M, and this is placed. If any first 4 edges are ever in the second layer, there are 2 ways to solve this. First, you make sure that this white here is 1 outer layer move away from the correct position, which means I first have to move the blue space over here. So now this would be correct position in 1 move, like that. And then there are 2 ways to do this. You can either do this alg to have that correct, or you could do this. Personally, I prefer this, but you can choose whatever you want. And then fix corners. And lastly, we put in the last edge. Just like this. Step 3, solve centers. What you normally would do is solve the white center first, and then position the second layer centers after. So if the white center here, your first center, isn't solved, there are 2 ways it can be solved. If it's in the second layer, you do this. And then position the second layer centers correct. Or if your center is on the opposite, you do this. And then position the second layer centers. And then we're at last 8 edges. And there are a few algs I need to show you here that you need to learn to do for look properly. I have a spreadsheet or a Google document online for all of these cases, but for for look last 8 edges you only need to learn the ones that are in gray, because I have color coded them. First, I'll show the algs that you probably already know, since they are also used in CFOP. There are 13 algs total. These first 4 algs are PLLs. So there is this U-Perm, this other U-Perm, H-Perm, and Z-Perm. Okay, first, the way you use these 2 U-Perms is you have a bar at the front, and then the 3 pieces that need to be moved at the back. So if you know another alg for this, use that rather than learn a new one. For this U-Perm, bar on front, pieces need to go clockwise. M, U2, M prime U prime M U2 M prime U prime M U2 M prime. Let's do that again. Bar on front, clockwise. M U2 M prime U prime M U2 M prime U prime M U2 M. The second U-Perm is almost the same. Bar on front, this needs to go counterclockwise. M U2 M prime U M U2 M prime U M U2 M prime. Let's do that again. Bar on front, counterclockwise. M U2 M prime U M U2 M prime U M U2 M prime. The third alg, H-Perm, it doesn't matter what alg you use. I use this. M2 U M2 U2 M2 U M2. Same with Z-Perm, it doesn't matter which alg you use. I personally use this one. M2 U M2 U M prime U2 M2 U2 M prime. These next algs are for second layer edges. This first alg, hopefully you already know, it's when two second layer edges need to just switch position. So if I have these in the L layer, I do L2 U2 L2 U2 L2, and those have switched. Or if they're in the R layer, it's the same. R2 U2 R2 U2 R2, and those are switched. The next alg is when you have something like this, where on one side these need to go on the opposite side, is where they belong, and on the other side here these two edges need to just move one position. You hold the two pieces that needs to go on opposite to the left, and you do this algorithm. L2 U2 L2 U2 L2 U wide L2 E2 L2 U wide, and again have the two second layer edges that needs to be on the opposite side on the left, and do L2 U2 L2 U2 L2 U wide L2 E2 L2 U wide. The next two algs are just mirrored versions of each other. It's when you have something like this. Each edge is one position away from being in the correct position. So the first one, if you look from the top, the edges need to go clockwise. So for this first case, the alg is L2 E prime L2 E prime L2 U2 L2 U2 L2 U wide 2. So let's do that again. L2 E prime L2 E prime L2 U2 L2 U2 L2 U wide 2. And for the mirrored version of that, if you look from the top, all these edges need to go counterclockwise. And the alg for this case is R2 E R2 E R2 U2 R2 U2 R2 U wide 2. Let's do that again. R2 E R2 E R2 U2 R2 U2 R2 U wide 2. These are the last 5 algs. All these algs only flip edges. The only thing they do is to flip a certain amount of edges. So first it's 2 edges, have them positioned like this, and the alg is M prime U times 4, M prime U prime times 4. So the alg is M prime U, M prime U, M prime U, M prime U, M prime U prime, M prime U prime, M prime U prime, M prime U prime. The second alg is 4 edges, have all of them in the top layer, and then do this alg. M prime U2, M U2, M prime U, M U2, M prime U2, M. Do that again. M prime U2, M U2, M prime U, M U2, M prime U2, M. The third one is also with 4 edges, but they are positioned very differently. So I have 1 in the top layer and the rest 3 are in the second layer. So I have 3 edges in the second layer, and where there isn't a flipped edge, on top of that there's a flip edge in the top layer. And I rotate Z prime and do M prime U 4 times. Let's do that again. Hold it like this. Z, M prime U, M prime U, M prime U, M prime U. For the third case, this is with 6 edges. You have the edges positioned like this, all 4 in the top and 2 in the front. Then you do R prime, D prime, and F, R, U, R prime times 5. And then D, R. Let's do that again. Hold it like this. R prime, D prime, F, R, U, R 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 prime, D, R. And for the last case, this is when you have all 8 edges flipped. You do M2, D, F, B, R, L, U, D, F, B, R, L, U, M2. Let's do that again. M2, D, F, B, R, L, U, D, F, B, R, L, U, M2. If you struggle with this, which I do sometimes, you could do this in 2 algs, with these 2 algs specifically. First doing this, and then setting up to this. Which may be easier if you don't want to learn all the algs right away. If we then continue from where we left off, I'm gonna have to re-scramble and resolve what we've done. We're at last 8 edges. The first part of for look last 8 edges is to place 2 second layer edges correctly. Here in this scramble we already have that. They don't need to be flipped correctly, they just need to be in the correct position. Next step is to place the remaining 2 edges in the correct spot. Since one of these is in the second layer and one position away from being solved, we found that we also have a second layer edge in the top layer. So what we can do is set up to a U-Perm. So I'm going to do U2. This needs to go here, and this needs to go here. That means that these will go clockwise, and we can use the U-Perm for this. That goes clockwise. And these two are solved. What I encourage you to do after this video is to do a bunch of hand scrambles and just try to solve, see what you can come up with and figure out for yourself, but not time yourself yet. So for the first step of for look last 8 edges, I want to place 2 second layer edges. I see this is already 1 move away, so it's smart to start with this. Unfortunately, the edge that needs to go here is in the back here. So what I can then do is do another alg that we learned. This edge needs to go opposite, while the edge in the back here needs to move 1 position. Then we use this alg that we learned earlier. And then these two are in the correct spot. And for the next 2 second layer edge pieces, we can set up to a Z-Perm. By doing R and L, we can now set up to a Z-Perm. And then undo our setup moves. Back to the main scramble. Step 3 of for look last 8 edges is to then flip all of the edges. So here I set up to this case, to the alg, and then undo setup move. For cases like this, for example, when all of the second layer edges are flipped, you can set up to this case. And undo setup moves. And for this case, where the second layer edge is in the back, you just do a different setup move to set up to the same case. And do the alg. All of these are in the second set link. Just look at the algs that are in gray. The algs that are in gray only flip. They don't move anything, they only flip. So you don't have to learn all of the algs that are in the sheet. Just learn the ones that are in gray. Most of them are setup moves to one of the 5 algs that I showed you earlier. Back to the main scramble. The final step of for look last 8 edges is to do PLL. So here I have a U-Perm, so I'll do the same U-Perm. And then AUF. I'll go over everything again, just a little bit quicker, with this new scramble. I'm gonna start with white again. I already have 2 white pieces here. This is how I do it with Ortega. And then I start with first 4 edges on white. I can insert green here very easily. Now I have something weird. I'm just gonna take out 1 piece. Since all pieces are in here just wrong, I'm just gonna take out 1 piece. I'm gonna take out red. And then insert red here. Then I have orange available. I can insert orange. And I can insert blue. Then I do centers. And then first step of last 8 edges. These 2 both need to swap. So I'm just gonna set up to an H-Perm in the top layer. And undo my setup moves. And for the last 2, I'll also set up to an H-Perm. Undo my setup moves. And then I'll flip all edges. Oh, unlucky. No PLL. Thank you all so much for watching. Like the video if you liked the video. If you're new here, consider subscribing. It's even free. That's an insanely good price. Who even knows where I'll post next? There's a vlog coming soon, so I'll post that. And hopefully I'll post the part 3 of Elvi-Method within the year. Anyways, thank you so much for watching. Bye!